Welcome to Dicejunkies. Today we have a very special guest, Angel Desai. We've got Q on this interview with us, so we're very excited to have her on board. Just to give you a little breakdown of our show, we are a geek culture talk show, and one of the reasons we brought you on is you're involved in a couple of geek culture projects that I'm passionate about, both Marvel and the Gears of War franchise. So, Angel, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your time today.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here. I was saying to Clint in an email, like, I consider myself to be a geek about a number of things myself. So this is my favorite kind of conversation. So it's great.
Yeah. She's a Star Wars nut. She hasn't done Star Wars that I found yet, but we'll probably have a Star Wars question or two.
Not yet. I'm knocking wood, but yeah, not yet.
Are you trying to?
I mean, trying in my heart. I don't know that there's anything active that I can try more. I don't know what that would be, but if an audition comes up, then yes. I haven't figured out what more besides trying to get in the door with an audition it would be. But if there is something, I should figure that out probably.
Well, if there's several.
What's that?
Well, they have several new projects coming on board with Rangers of the New Republic and some of the other series. We'd love to see you on there because looking at your resume, you actually are trained in sword fighting, sword play, rapiers, daggers. So you could even be a bounty hunter or something along those lines.
Well, The Mandalorian is the show that I would love. I'm going to put that out there right now. I would love to be on The Mandalorian. My friend Emily Swallow is already on The Mandalorian. She is the what's the name? Not forger.
The armorer.
The armorer. Yeah.
One of my favorite characters from that show.
So yeah, Emily Swallow is interesting because she's also in Supernatural.
Oh, that's right.
She was the Darkness in Supernatural, and her character comes in, I think, in season 12 or 13. Really, really interesting, and she did a phenomenal job. I liked what she did in Supernatural, but as the armorer in The Mandalorian, she is a badass. I mean, she's hardcore. And that's how I like what Dave Filoni has done and Jon Favreau has done with The Mandalorian. They've brought back the Star Wars that we grew up on.
Oh my gosh. Totally. I don't know how you feel about the Honest trailers. Do you watch Honest trailers?
I watch them religiously. I've seen all of them.
I love Honest trailers in general, and I actually love the Honest trailers for both seasons of The Mandalorian. I feel like they hit it on the head all the way. And yeah, it is the Star Wars we grew up with and love. Baby Yoda, I can't even tell you how obsessed. My partner, God bless him, he got me. I have a little toothpaste head of Baby Yoda. So when you squeeze the toothpaste, it comes out through Baby Yoda's mouth.
Oh, wow.
That's cool. Pretty awesome. I just have to find some blue toothpaste and then it's all set.
I believe, is it Grogu?
Grogu. Yeah, but I don't like that name. I'm sorry to say, Jon Favreau. No offense. I prefer Baby
Yoda. It took me a while to memorize it. It didn't just flow like Yoda does. And I still call him Baby Yoda, even though Grogu is the name they gave him. So,
I'm an actual veteran of the original Lone Wolf and Cub, so I love this series because it's very clear that that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni had seen some of the old black and white Lone Wolf and Cub shows, and it was just this scene is like they did I watched Samurai Jack and they did a tribute to Lone Wolf and Cub, and I remember being excited. So when this came out, I just said, all right, he's got me just on reminding me of what had to be one of the favorite old black and white action drama samurai serials that I watched. And a lot of people that are familiar with Lone Wolf Cub, when they saw The Mandalorian, they said, "Oh, it's space Lone Wolf and Cub." Okay, we're cool with that.
I watched I sometimes love to watch the making of documentaries and all of the backstory documentaries, and they did say that samurai films were like a huge influence for them, and I feel like so much of it is successful. So many of the frames that the directors, they have some great directors on there, directors of color, women directors, and some of the frames they got are absolutely just ripped straight from those movies, which is awesome. Great steal.
But enough
So,
about
yeah.
the things that we wish you were in. Let's talk about what you are in. Let me herd blood axe in that direction.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Too. I mean, I'm putting out my wishes out there.
We'll definitely publish it for you for sure.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. The main reason I looked you up is I was going through some of the Gears cast because we have a lot of Gears videos that we play. I've gone through all 5 Gears games. And you are the voice of First Minister Jin. In all honesty, a little polarizing to the players, especially in the 4th game. But 5th game, I wish you'd have more of a presence in the 5th game. But the 4th game, you really brought it to us with the DVs. Can you just give us your experience on that project, if you don't mind?
No, I don't. Although it was funny because I had not auditioned at all for voiceover stuff, hardly at all, like maybe one a year for years. And that audition came up and I was just like, okay. And at the time I was also only auditioning for Asian characters, which was so weird to me because I was like, does my voice sound Asian? Like, I grew up in Binghamton, New York. I don't understand. Anyway, so that the character description that they gave, like they always give these visuals about what they're seeing in the character, and they're like, she's like a combination of Jodie Foster from what's the one where there's a colony right off of Earth, Elysium. That's right, So the character was a combination of Jodie Foster from Elysium, like this leader who thinks she's being benevolent but is actually doing stuff that's a lot of people think is shady, and Maggie Q. And I was like, that is a badass combination. I don't know if I have that in my voice, but I'm just going to try to infuse the character with that. And look, I have no problem telling people I'm the bad guy in that thing, because that's, as an actor, that's a badge of honor if you get to be the main villain, you know. But what I will confess is I had no idea how big the franchise was till I told a male friend of mine who was like, "You're what? You're in Gears of War what?" And I was like, yeah, hi." So yeah, but you know, when you're working with the directors, and we were working together over the phone, you know, they were giving me direction over the phone. I'm not thinking you don't think as an actor, I'm the bad guy. You're only thinking you have to step inside your character, whoever they are, and you are the advocate for your character, right? So I'm going to be on her side. When I saw what happened in the game to the robots carrying my character's face, I was like, oh wow, okay. And yeah, and then like all the backstory about how much she just doesn't get it. I was like, oh, the out of touch leader. Okay. Sure. You know, I really just tried to follow what the director was telling me to do ultimately. So if they were happy, then I was happy, you know, with the
You did a fantastic job. And I did see Jen as the leader that made the tough call for what was best of civilization and not for the moment. But not having the foresight of, okay, you know, maybe I should listen to these soldiers who've been doing this for a couple of decades. And what's funny, and Mark has a clip of it saved, is but I had a beard down to here, so I used to do a Marcus impression. So when you sent the DBs to his mansion and he yelled out, "You fucked my tomatoes up," I have a great impression of Marcus doing that.
They fucked my tomatoes up.
They fucked my tomatoes up. So, but I had a long beard like Marcus does in Gears 4 and 5, which is absolutely hilarious. So on our gaming videos, that's actually after the credits run. That's the closing clip of me doing my Marcus impression.
What were you gonna say though, Quinn? You said something else. I thought you were saying
Well, I
something
just
else.
said they did fuck his tomatoes up though. I mean, they did. I get his sentiment about it. I was like, I agree. I mean, I like robots. Like I in Gears 5, you could play as the DBs, and Blood Axe knows I love running around as a soulless machine. But I have no illusions that I'm the good guy. I am a soulless machine, so I tend to get in character and just spout very disturbing rhetoric from the robot. And my gameplay footage is usually me ranting or being very in character. And when I play the robots, there is a disregard for human life that I felt it's necessary. I'm a combat robot. I'm not supposed to, care.
Yeah, I think for a robot that's fair, and I think it was interesting to see them try to put a human, or she tries to sort of put this human face on the robot,
Yeah.
but it clearly isn't meant to work, and that's okay. What I liked when they came back for Gears 5 was the fact that they were like, okay, so it's complicated. I was like, oh, this is it. It was interesting to me that they were like, she's softened up because now she's pregnant. Spoiler, sorry. I don't know if that's a spoiler for anybody, but but that's actually, I liked that even more, even though I didn't get to do as many of the combat sounds and combat voices and things like that. I liked the dialogue that they set up for her.
Oh yeah.
Don't
no,
give
I didn't
up on
pick up
that.
on her being. I didn't pick up on her being pregnant, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. So,
Whoops,
spoiler alert.
sorry.
Jen's pregnant.
Spoiler.
They've been adding the ministers to the game, so you may get a phone call. Don't doubt that, because they just added. Didn't they just add one of the other ministers, Blood Axe? So last time I was in the
They
store,
added
I saw
Prescott, and they added Hoffman as playable characters.
Well, you're saying you're saying that they added Quinn. What did you mean? You're saying that they?
Well, they're taking those characters that normally are not playable and thus have a lot of combat dialogue, and they've been adding them. So it is very possible that your character, you may get a call, and they're like, hey, we're going to make you a playable character. We need horde dialogue. We need escape. We need you talking to the other people. For example, there's even interaction dialogues, like one of our favorites is Lizzie and Clayton. They're related, and they talk to each other. So if you're playing with all the ministers, what happens if you get Hoffman and Prescott, and what was the other chairman? Blacks.
There was Prescott and Hoffman. Those are the only two that I can remember.
No, there's also the current chairman.
It's First Minister Jen.
Oh, well, then there we go. Wow.
Yeah, she's still in charge.
But does she have her own skin yet? Is she fully playable, or they just have the robot with the face paint?
They have the Jen bot skin. They don't have an actual full Jen skin yet, and
I think
that kind of bothers me as you're running around and you're clinking and clanking all the time, because I'm used to listening for that for enemies that are coming. So we're playing an escape, and I hear Q clinking and clanking behind me, and I turn around thinking it's a DB, and it's him.
I've got my gun pointed at him because, again, I mean, you shouldn't trust the machine, so. He turns around and is just like.
So I'm going to try to pull some information and see how far we can go. Have they called you for Gear 6 yet?
No, and I'm not sure that they will. Just because of that, with the story, Gears 5 has been out for a while, right? Like, it's been out for a couple of years. Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out if I'm in trouble for saying any of that stuff, but I don't think so.
If it makes you feel any better, we're always in trouble. So, I mean, we're terrible at avoiding it.
But for a game that's been out for a couple of years now, then it's like, I don't think so.
You haven't heard anything about the development of a new game, but I do figure they will probably be developing one at some point, because it's usually about 3 years in between Gears.
Right. Well, and the problem is that if they had called me, I wouldn't be allowed to tell you if they'd called me. So
I know.
I know you know.
Usually it's I can't talk about it versus no, and that's kind of the tell.
Right.
I'm under an NDA is an answer to that question. If a person goes, I'm under an NDA, we go like, oh, I'm looking forward to Gear 6.
So, speaking of your career, you're also Miss Linda Chow in Jessica Jones, which was probably one of the best Marvel series that we had.
Mhm.
Um, when we had the Punisher and Iron Fist and one
Luke
of Q's
Cage.
favorites, Luke Cage. But
Don't you forget about Luke
Jessica Jones
Cage.
was extraordinarily popular. Can you give us some information about your experience on that?
Sure. I I loved it because I mean, and it was I was sad about how brief it was. I mentioned to Clint in an email that the MCU is my, it's one of my loves. Even though I cannot say that I've read most of the comic books, that's not for lack of love. It's just for, more concentrated, more concentrated efforts. That said, and so when I was like, oh my gosh, Jessica Jones, I have, and there was a code name for that and all of that. And then I read it and I was like, oh, I hope she ends up with superpowers. And then it was like, oh, she just sucks. Okay, well, and I was really sad because I was hoping for superpowers. But that being said, Carrie Ann Moss is the bomb. She is such a lovely, lovely person. She's so funny because, when I saw the first Matrix, it was like, and I just with her, I was just like, God, she is so amazing. She's gorgeous. She's this, she's this, she's such a great. And then I saw her in Chocolat, and I was like, oh my God, she's a great actress, and all this stuff. And she plays these like really austere, cool people, and on set she's just like, oh my God, how are you doing? So I found this new like vitamin supplement that you just have to take, and this is the place where I found it, and it's on this website. Like, she's just chatty and down to earth and sunny. She was lovely. And the guy who plays my partner in crime, the actor Maury Ginsburg, who played the other lawyer with me, Benowitz, we're friends now. Like, we hang out, which almost never happens when you have just sort of a day guest star on a TV show. Like, it's rare that you see each other in life, and we just ended up becoming friends. So
That's cool.
I
yeah.
love the character of Hogarth. I mean, she was amazing. I've always stated that maybe it's because of the rarity of it, that we don't
Mm.
see it as often, that a really well done, powerful female character is just a standout character when you see it, where you're just like, and to be
Mhm.
honest, the Jessica Jones series is an interesting conundrum because we heaped a lot of praise on it, but we also heaped a lot of criticisms. But it was in the form of Jessica Jones was not the star of her show. I mean, it was Hogarth and Purple Man. Like, like
Oh yeah.
David Tennant and Miss Moss were amazing. And honestly, I think it would have been better if they were just going at it and you just took Jessica out, because she was incredible. And I think she would have gave him a run for his money. Like, she was not messing around.
No.
And
Yeah.
but your interactions
She's
with her are amazing because you're one of the few people that kind of didn't like talk to her like as an equal. Your interactions
yeah.
were just like, yeah, you can't just not tell us you're sick, just
Yeah, it's there. What I was hoping for, and it wasn't meant to be for the writing, but I was hoping that there was going to be all of this other stuff where you actually see how Hogarth is more beholden to these two people, and that the power play, I was hoping for just a bit more fighting to happen between the three of us. That's what I would have hoped.
I thought she was going to
Um,
have you killed. Honestly, I was rather surprised that she did. Like,
I
I
was
was really,
surprised.
Hogarth seemed like she was going to wipe out the rest of the board. I was still surprised that there was any accidents.
Well, she kind of did the thing that it seems like it was good that she did what a lawyer would do, right? She goes at it using the law, weirdly, even though they're so corrupt. She uses legal or money avenues to do it. And she's so clever. The look on her face when she walks out of the room and she's like, I just wiped the floor with you. And I was just like, I just lost in that scene. But me as an actor watching Carrie Ann Moss, I was like, damn, she's so good. She's so good. So I agree with you. It would have been great to see her and David Tennant kind of. Is that who you meant by Purple Man when the
Yes,
first season,
yes.
David Tennant's character? Yeah, he was. I love watching him. I loved watching it. I thought the series was the strongest too, personally, of all of those. But
Because if there's
Um,
anybody that I think could outsmart him, I think it was Hogarth. But
yeah,
old JJ Jessica Jones. Nothing against her actress, but her character felt like the bit character, like in every
it
scene
took
she was
her,
in.
yeah, it took her a long time to get to where she outsmarted him. She finally outsmarts him in the last episode, which I get it. You're sort of setting it up for like, you have to make the last episode the one where she wins, but
Yeah.
still would have been.
So, looking at your website, it looks like you're also an accomplished musician with violin, piano, and you're also a jazz vocalist. Is music your primary passion, or do you prefer your roles in film?
That is a complicated question. It's a good question. I'm not, it's so weird to say that it is not my primary passion because I've had music in my life, my whole life. Even before I remember, my mom was telling me that when I was 2, I knew all the lyrics to I Could Have Danced All Night from My Fair Lady from the musical, and I was singing it in the maternity dress shop when she was shopping for a dress when she was pregnant with my sister. She has a story about that. I don't remember it. But I started studying music at the age of 4, and then my sister, when she turned 4, started studying too. So we were very serious about it. It's in my bones. It's something that influences and informs a lot of the work that I do as an actor. Some of the acting work that I do has me singing or playing instruments or both. So it's like beyond love. Like I don't know what it is when it's beyond that you love something. It's just it's a part of me. That said, I'm very lazy when it comes to practicing, so it's not like I spend hours perfecting my technical chops. Um, and that said, the thing that I really wanted to pursue in terms of career path was actor. But to me, that did not exclude being a musician. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
it's sort of both if I can have both. However, if they put me on a TV show or in a film that doesn't have music as part of the character, that's fine.
yeah,
That's totally fine.
yeah.
So yeah.
The reason I asked is when you go to your website, the first thing you see is you singing on stage. So that's why I was asking about that.
Well, that's from a film. That is from a short film called
Mhm.
Lady Apsara, which you can also find on YouTube in the Prospect Theater Company, the Prospect Theater Company's YouTube channel. It's a 17-minute film. Prospect Theater Company is a theater company, but when the pandemic hit, they were like, how do we give there's this abandoned theater that actually happens to be in my hometown, Binghamton, New York.
Mm.
This huge, gorgeous abandoned theater. That picture you're seeing, that's actually the gutted out interior of that theater. And she was like, we have a relationship with the owner of that theater. Why don't we provide socially distanced opportunities for actor musicians to make theater on film? So we commissioned a writer and a composer and a director, and we got a cast together, and I co-produced it. And yeah, so it has me singing and playing, but acting also.
I'll have to check that out. And also, we'll probably include that picture on the stream as well.
Oh, thanks.
Um, I know we don't get political, but I do want to talk about your activism. And interestingly enough, it's also Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So it kind of falls in line with my next question, because you're one of the founding members of the Asian American Performers Action Coalition. What can you share with our audience regarding your work as an activist?
Sure. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, it's appropriate for the month. We founded APAC, we being a bunch of performers and a couple of writers and artistic directors. We formed it, gosh, it's going to be 10 years now. And our focus was theater, New York theater specifically. And basically, it started with a question on Facebook, actually. One of us just came back from seeing a play, and they were like, where are all the Asian actors in New York? Why aren't they on stage? Why am I not on stage? This person was like, I have an MFA from Yale's acting program, And I've never even auditioned. In the 10 years I've been in New York, I've never even auditioned for one of the most major off-Broadway theater companies in the city. Why? So a bunch of us were in a room. We were all similarly angry at the inherent racism in the business. And we were like, well, let's figure out if this is just a feeling or if this is justified. So we did something pretty stereotypically Asian, and we did the numbers. We did the math. We took the statistics. We like counted up. We were like, okay, let's do the racial breakdown of all the actors on stage in the last 5 years in the 16 major nonprofit theaters and on Broadway, those last 5 seasons in New York. And we were like, oh, 75% of the, I forget the exact number of white people, but it was like 70% white people and like 14% black people, and Asian people on stage was around 3%, less on Broadway. It was like 3.5% off Broadway. We're like, wow. So we're right. We aren't on stage very much. Okay, cool. And unfortunately, what's not cool is the numbers haven't changed too much. They're better now than they were in 2011, but they're better to the tune of like 6% or so, which is like, you know, when people ask me if things are getting better, I'm like, things are getting better in the way that when someone gets moved out of the ICU into a regular hospital room, they're in a better situation than they were when they were in the ICU. Okay, so that's better.
Don't bring that one up.
It's still in the hospital, so it's all.
Well, here's a question. I'm just curious. What percentage were y'all of the acting base of actors available for it?
That is a good question. A lot more than that.
See, that's all
so. What is hard is that Equity, our union, doesn't release the numbers. It doesn't. It won't publicly release racial breakdown of Equity members. So we don't actually know how many hundreds of white people versus black versus. But the way we look at it is less about the number of people in the union and more about what the population is out in the world, because it's a representative art form, right? So we're trying to show a mirror out back to the world of itself. But if you're in New York City, the metro area is only 30% white. It's actually not a majority white town. It's a majority people of color town. Mm-hmm. Latino people are the majority minority. They're the largest underrepresented group, then black people, then Asian people. But that's not the story on stage. That's not what you see on stage. You see mostly white people.
Yeah, well, if it's a modern piece, then that would be a very bad representation. Yeah, you're doing something. You should try to represent the demographic of, if you can, the local community, especially when you're doing something that you don't have an excuse of a period piece. You need to represent properly, because if you're going to have a 30-40% audience of Latino or black or Asian, probably want a couple of people to be recognizable on stage if you can help it. Just saying. And
but that point is exactly it. The audience space, most of the audience base in New York, if you're just talking about New Yorkers, is white and older white. The tourist dollars that come in, there's a lot of tourist dollars that come in. Okay, so that's different. You're starting to mix it up a little bit. But when you go to see these shows that have multicultural casts, you see, oh, actually, we might get more audience members who are Latino, brown, Asian, Native American. Oh my God, there's like no Native American. There's barely any Native American representation at all. And you'll get those people to put their butts in the seats if you put the people on the stage. It's like the same with Scream, right? When Black Panther opened that weekend, the whole world, same with Crazy Rich Asians, the world showed you, and not just Asian people, not just black people go to these movies. You just have to put more people on the screen or on stage, and then you will get the money. It's like this weird economic formula that seems so simple. I don't know why they don't get it.
I mean, I never thought I would see Black Panther as a real movie. I thought I'd see the trash they put out when they just do bad superhero movies, but I was like, wait a minute. Like when I went to it, I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute, there's scripts and dialogue and special effects. I think they tried. And whatever you may think of the movie, compared to what we've gotten, like I can easily go pull some other movies and be like, I don't think Black Panther's a great movie. Hey man, check out oh God, what was that movie? There was some bad. You know what? There's too many. Bad superheroes. It's like, hey, take a look at this, and then they'll look at that and go like, oh, you're right. This is amazing. When we realize what you usually get. And they were working. Yeah. And I mean, and the worst part is there ain't a lot of stories to pull. I mean, now we practically had every black Marvel superhero in a movie because there's only really a handful of them. Yep. I even thought about it once. I said, ooh, who else do we get? Then I sat there and I went, oh, that's all of them. We're done.
No, I know. I had to same. I mean, the Asian people haven't even had their own movie yet. If there are enough Asian people to fill, what's that?
That's the bad part. Is y'all don't even have nobody remembers that comic. I love martial arts, and I don't remember. I forgot the name of the movie now. Something in the Rings, Master of Kung Fu. Like,
talking about Shang-Chi and the Master of the Ten Rings. Yeah. Yes, that's coming out. I think at the end of the year or 2023.
I got my comic book friend to tell me all of the different Asian characters and the movies that are coming, and so I know it's coming. Kumail Nanjiani, his work was not in vain. It's coming. I know it's coming, but
that's just sad to me that's the first one to come out, because I didn't realize until I suddenly said, well, at least we had T'Challa, and we have a guy that's a king. But when I thought about Shang-Chi, I said, whoa, well, I don't know this guy, which is weird for me. Then I said, oh, I remember that guy. That's that guy who jump kicks. And that's all he ever did on his comics. Then I went through the X-Men and stuff, and I was like, I think somebody here is Asian, but I don't remember. And I was like, oh, my God, they need a hero, like bad, like a proper... Now, plenty of villains, but they all look like Fu Manchu. Sorry, but they do. Like they got the Mandalorian. I mean, not the Mandalorian, the Mandarin with the full,
right? Which was then played by a white woman. So, I'm just saying,
I think you're thinking of the what was the character? Because that was a villain, the Mandarin. Yeah, you're right.
Oh no. Sorry, Doctor not Strange. The Mandarin. What's the something in Doctor Strange?
The immortal, the ancient one.
The ancient one.
Yeah. The ancient one.
Yeah.
And they whitewashed it.
They whitewashed it. I'm just like, stop whitewashing things. That is almost as bad as just plain straight up yellow face. Cut that shit out. You've stopped with the black face mostly. You have to stop with the yellow and the brown face. Stop it. Just stop.
They should have taken her out of the robes, too. Now, don't be wrong. I feel the same way, a flip side, too. I hate when they go, we're going to make this character black all of a sudden. I was like, I'd rather you wrote us a character, because I don't need a black Clark Kent. I just want a good black superhero. Like, I don't want black Clark Kent. I'd rather you... Static Shock. Man, I've said this forever. I want Virgil Hawkins. I know you don't know how big comic fan, but I'm like, we have characters for DC. Could we get them instead of just the... But that was crazy. I mean, Tilda Swinton is not bad.
I won't say that I'm not a comic fan. I just I haven't gone out and actually invested. It's a large investment, like of time and resources. However, I do know about the Black Green Lantern. Or sorry, is it Green Arrow or Green? No, it's Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And it's like so that could have been made. I mean, I'm glad that the movie that got made with Ryan Reynolds is not a movie that had a black actor in it, because that would have been disastrous probably. But
the movie was a disaster.
They would have had to find some that script would have got turned down by any of our prominent black actors. They would look at me like, nah, y'all
and
not
said no.
Y'all not gonna Pluto Nash me or Norbit me. Like
I also just want to say, for the record, I have not seen the movie. I did, however, watch Deadpool and Deadpool 2, and Ryan Reynolds does enough trashing of the Green Lantern movie himself, so I'm just quoting Ryan Reynolds from his own mouth.
He would be insulted if you did not hate his Green Lantern movies. He would never forgive you.
That's what I'm sensing, and I loved the Deadpool movies, so.
Oh, yeah. I'm curious how Disney's going to do Deadpool 3, because they've never done a rated R film before.
They're going to probably let a subsidiary studio do it and not slap Dyke. I'm pretty sure this will be the first movie since they bought Marvel that won't have the Disney Castle logo at the beginning. I'm pretty sure it's not going to. You're not going to see little Tinkerbell flying over the castle. I'm pretty sure they're not going to. Just going to put it over here. Either that or they're going to ruin it. I mean, but hopefully no, because Ryan Reynolds won't make it. I actually, amazing enough for this one particular like franchise, I believe he would go. Get someone else if you're going to do that. I really think he would say that. I think he would be like, nah, I'm not fixing to ruin all this goodwill. You can go hire, who's a terrible, probably, we don't know. They might be a friend of yours. I shouldn't just throw out a random person and go, you know what, Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell can be, I'm not scared if you have a problem me dishing on Will Ferrell. He's got enough money to take it.
And I don't know him personally. I do not know Will Ferrell personally.
That's good for you. Have you seen anything? Like, if you're his good friend, he'll drag you into his terrible movies. I mean, he's a great friend to have if you want to be in movies and you don't mind your, like, no one respecting your career.
I think that it would be so much fun to work. I think what happens with Will Ferrell, because I'm a fan of him, I think that what happens is he is probably so much fun to be in a room with that everybody just goes, oh my God, let's just do this because it would be so much fun. It is remarkable, though, how some people keep getting to make movies despite not having the kind of box office or critical return that comes to them. I haven't followed the box office returns for Will Ferrell's movies, but I do love him. So if he were to find me somehow and just be like, let's do this, I'd be like, of course. I will absolutely do whatever you want.
I would hang out with Will Ferrell, and I would be in one of his movies because I have no career. And I would just, and people would be like, hey, I heard you that Will Ferrell movie. And I'd be like, yeah. They'd be like, should I go see it? And I'll be like, why would you do that? Like, well, why were you in the movie? Because I wanted to hang out with Will Ferrell. Like,
I liked the other guys. I like that. We can all have guilty pleasures. I thought it was funny.
For me, it was
guilty pleasure. It's actually if you ever watch our show, we have something called Random Encounters, and there's a question. We roll a dice to see which question we discuss as a group, and one of the ideas that Q came up with is your guilty pleasure television show. And mine is Angel, which we've been discussing via email. And I didn't know that Q was actually a buffy-verse fan. We had talked about 2 hours about
this jerk
the
set up here and said, well, I know you don't watch Angel and Buffy. And I was like, I watched the original movie. I watched the whole series up to the finale. I watched Angel. I watched the last time that Buffy appeared as the Slayer, which was on Angel when she just made everybody. Oh, so spoilers. I don't know how far you are in it. But
no, I have rewatched. I'm off book for many of those episodes. No, I have rewatched both those, and I actually got my boyfriend to watch all of Buffy. He loved it too, and he's not like, I don't know that he'd like Angel, but
I played the tabletop of Buffy. I have played Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I have been a Slayer. Like he doesn't even know it existed. Like I played the tabletop of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And favorite scene, since we brought it up, is I love the one when Angel is in there, and I forgot the name. I'm bad with the names because I watched it when it aired and have not seen it since then. But when the guy had taken his son and sent him off to the demon world, and he sits there and he goes, all right, I want you to know, Angel's talking to me, he says, I want you to know that this is me, Angel, not Angelus.
Oh, when he goes to Wesley in the hospital.
Yeah, he goes, I want you to know, I'm not evil me, this is me. He goes, okay. Then he tries to kill him.
Yes,
because I want you to know me as a dad. And I'm a dad, so I was just like, I want you to know it's me. It's not vampire me. I, Angel the father, am about to choke yo
to death because you kidnapped my son, got my son kidnapped. That was horrifying. That was horrifying, and it made everything sink. Like I just felt my heart just sort of that acidy feeling, like oh no, and just the whole arc that followed. I mean, it was great for the actors, but it was so depressing. It was
I think that was the finale for season 3. And one of the things that Joss Whedon has done with Angel is every season ending with just a massive cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I remember season 2 when Angel was put into an iron box and thrown in the bottom of the
Oh, yeah.
ocean, and then season 3 whenever they were jumping into the heliportal.
Remember when he
Uh,
became the president of the evil firm? That was a wild
Wolfram and
one.
Hart.
That
Yeah.
was a good one. I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
but yeah,
that
he had the
was where I
nerve
was
to say, "I
scratching my
don't
head
know
like,
this."
why would you join Wolfram and Hart? Okay. And as we talked about it on via email in season 5, you can tell where they took a hard right turn when they found out they weren't going to be renewed, and they had to wrap up the series.
Did you know that you remember at the end of season 5 of Buffy where she dies? Spoiler, sorry.
It doesn't stick.
Well, that's the thing though, is that because they thought they were getting canned, and then they got picked up by, well, I think CW, and then it was like, oh, well, so now what do we do now? So I think, they were figuring out speaking of which, I forget sometimes that I was actually on a Joss Whedon show. I was on Dollhouse, and I don't
Yes.
know if there's any folks watching but I'm in a couple episodes of that as well.
Yeah,
We saw your
actually,
filmography.
Elijah
Yeah.
Dushku was one of my favorite actors. I loved her as Faith in
She's
Buffy and
great.
Angel.
Mhm.
But yeah, she's a phenomenal actress. And then I haven't seen Dollhouse, but I did research it after you had mentioned it, and I was
Mm.
like, that looks like a pretty interesting show. You do some really fascinating, probably some questionable things. Uh,
And I will say, you one of the there was that was the first time that I had a stunt double. Some of the moves that we were doing in that fight were me, and some of it were stunt double moves. They always get a stunt double. You were asking earlier about, the stage combat and martial arts and stuff. I'm not an expert in any of those things, but I have enough that I can definitely learn choreography, like fight choreography, pretty fast. That being said, there's always a stunt double for safety. And when it comes to martial arts, I think that's the irony. I know we're jumping around a lot, but I think that's the irony of not having a comic book hero from Asia, because it's like, hello, a whole system of martial arts for so many of those countries for hundreds of years, and you don't have some Asian people kicking ass on a regular basis. Like, I just don't understand that. Anyway, that's a tangent. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So on a set, so you have, and the way they explained it, at least on that set, was like, if the camera's on the actor, the person that the actor's fighting is the stunt double, and vice versa, so that there's always some safety built in. I did get to do a little bit of a move on the Blue Bloods episode that I shot in December for this latest season. I had a stunt double for that too, but we practiced the move that I do in that episode a lot for like a couple of hours, and that was fun.
So you've been in a lot of drama series about crime. Let's act like a talk show.
Actually, you were in a Crack on TV series for NCIS. When those shows come on, they're back to back to back like that, or Law and Order. It's like, okay, I'm glued now until I fall asleep. So yeah, you were actually in New Orleans filming that, weren't you?
I sure was, with the wonderful Scott Bakula and CCH Pounder. They were my scene partners. Scott Bakula was my scene partner for the first two, and then CCH was there in the third one. And I love New Orleans. I just have to say, first off, I love New Orleans. I always have. So I was really happy to have the chance to go down there. And I didn't have too much time to spend wandering around, but just enough. And the hotel is close enough to the French Quarter that it doesn't take too long to walk there. I would have liked to have more time to go to other places in New Orleans besides that, but yeah. And that was a lovely set. Everybody was just so lovely. Scott Bakula was wonderful. I got to tell him that I'd been a fan since, Quantum Leap.
Oh yeah.
Way back in the day.
Back. See, hey,
right?
I'll show my age. I might look great for my age, but I grew up with Quantum Leap. Well, I mean, you heard me talk about Lone Wolf and Cub and Black and White. Like I'm not a spring chicken. I'm a winter turkey.
Yeah, I got 2 questions for you. So, did you get to enjoy Cafe Du Monde while you were in New Orleans?
I sure did. And I
Sweet.
shouldn't even be eating gluten because I'm gluten intolerant. But I made an exception, and I went and I got me some beignets and some cafe au lait. And then I bought the cans. I bought a can for my partner. I bought a can. I think I bought a whole bunch of coffee like cans to bring home. But also, if you're in the French Quarter and you like fried chicken, red beans and rice at Coop's Bar. Oh my God, it was so good. I still remember that. It was so good. Yeah, you got to get fried chicken, red beans and rice at Coop's.
What
Yeah,
ain't y'all
I
run?
love going to
Because
the French Quarter early in the morning. But yeah, Cafe Du Monde, if you don't get there really early, there's a line probably quarter mile long. It's well, may not be now since the pandemic, but I remember
What?
waiting in that line for a while for beignets.
I also, speaking of New Orleans, and this goes back to jazz, one of the guys that I played with in college at Oberlin College when we played jazz together, his family manages or was managing, I don't know if it's still true, Preservation Hall. So it was, and I remember going down there for a visit. I used to date a fellow from Southern Louisiana, and we went down on a trip and went down to Preservation Hall, and my friend Benji was playing then. I don't know where he's at now, but anyway, Quinn, were you going to say something or ask something? Sorry, I interrupted you.
we've done a couple of New Orleans tours, Dicejunkies. Blood X
Yeah?
wasn't with us at the time because he's a responsible family man, and we take the late night run, and our main man here, Zeno, is actually from New Orleans area, and
Oh, yeah?
it's a wonderful horror tour to go with him because he has no reservation about walking down the strangest places. So we'll start in the French Quarter and back alleys, and then I showed him that I could cause trouble because then I'll go like, okay, I'm about to drink and make everybody terrified. Our third wheel that time, Flynn, a childhood friend of mine, almost left us because of my antics. I didn't do anything illegal. I just
He
was
almost left you in New Orleans? That's what you mean? He
well,
almost
in the
left
French
us like he
Quarter
almost.
because he was a driver, and apparently he thought I'd had too much to drink. And when I yelled at the police to ask them if I had too much to drink, they said I hadn't. And for some reason, this made him nervous because he's another black man, and apparently that made him nervous. But the New Orleans police were just like, "Nah, man, go get another drink." And they were like, "You're not nearly drunk enough." So
New
I was,
Orleans, yeah, New Orleans. This is what I love about New Orleans. Is that the fact that I remember being so this ex-boyfriend. This is many ex-boyfriends ago. He he is from. I mean, I just want to be clear. This is just to say that it's not a recent one, but a lovely, lovely guy, and he's from Lafayette. And I don't know if your person back there is from Lafayette, but anyway. Oh yeah.
yeah, aren't you Zeno? Aren't you Lafayette? Oh, Metairie. He said he's from Metairie.
Oh, Metairie. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm familiar with Metairie because right. But anyway, in Lafayette, there was a drive-through daiquiri place, and I was like, okay, I understand New Orleans. I mean, I understand Louisiana now. And in New Orleans, there were Go Cups near the door, for your beer when you finished. If you didn't finish it, you wanted to take it to go. And I was just like, I think I am getting all of this. When I was shooting NCIS this last time in the airport, I stopped. I was like, I asked one of the guards, I'm like, why is it named? Because the name of the airport that they just rebuilt the new airport, Moisant Field. That's why MSY. I said, why is it MSY? For the Moisant Stockyards. And I asked a guard there, I was like, why is it named for this guy? And I'm like, any other place, right? You have Kennedy named for a president, and you've got, LaGuardia named for a great mayor, like politicians and Reagan and all of these things, or Dulles, who is like the puppet master for so many evil things that went on and have gone on in this country. But Moisant, it was this guy who was like, he was drunk and he wanted to fly a plane that he'd never flown before, and he crashed it like that. I don't think he died or anything, but like that's what they named their airport after. And I'm like, this is why I love New Orleans. Is like everybody else is picking these like famous people who've accomplished things, and this guy was some rich guy who was just like, let's see what happens when I fly this plane. And then the plane crashed. And I'm like, I I love this town. I just love this town. This
That's
is
Louisiana for you.
yeah.
My other question I had, we had Carolyn Seymour on a while back, and she was in Quantum Leap as Zoe, one of the evil AIs, and she raved about Scott Bakula. She talked about how protective he was of all of his crewmates and stuff. Did you have a similar experience with him as an actress?
He was I was fortunate because I was shooting near Christmas time, and something he and his wife and family do every Christmas is they throw a huge Christmas party for the cast and crew. And even though I was a guest, they invited me to come to the party, which was so lovely. It was in this hall. They get food, they get the open bar, they get the band, and they really take care of the kids. They had a cookie decorating station and a face painting station and games for the kid. Like they let the kids come up on stage to sing with the band. It was the sweetest. It was really generous and lovely. He was a wonderful scene partner. And bit of trivia, I remembered when we were in the makeup chair, I remembered something my voice teacher had said to me. And I said to Scott, I was like, Scott, did you ever study voice with a man named Steve Sweetland? And Scott goes, I just had a lesson with him last Friday. And I was like, what? And we just because he would fly back home to LA on the weekends and he took a lesson with Scott. He still studies with Steve, of which I'm jealous because I don't live in LA and Steve does now. And anyway, yeah, we have. And then it turns out Scott's wife also has studied with Steve, and she and I were talking at the party. It's a whole. The world is small. The world
Yeah,
is small.
That
He
is
was
cool.
he was wonderful. CCH was wonderful. The producers and they were all wonderful.
yeah.
I'm feeling
Everything I've seen
evil.
him in, but whether it be Quantum Leap, Enterprise, Necessary Roughness, he was fantastic in. He always seemed like just an actual really nice guy. I'd love to have a beer with Scott Bakula and just
Yeah.
listen to some of the stories.
Mhm.
I haven't had a chance to meet him yet, but I think he would be just a phenomenal interview to talk to. Um, but yeah, thanks for sharing that story because it just kind of coincides with what we've heard from other actresses and actors about him. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on a moment there, Blood X. Now, so Joss Whedon. No.
Oh yeah. I remember bringing up Dollhouse earlier in the conversation in the context of Angel and Buffy, and I don't remember why, because we were talking about
Joss Whedon.
Talking about guilty pleasures. I talked about Angel was my guilty pleasure show.
yes,
And
but I was gonna say something specific. I don't remember what it was at all. Yeah, I don't remember.
That's probably for the
yeah,
best.
we had
I was trying
discussed
to start something asking about Joss Whedon. He seems to be trending at the
I know
moment.
I feel very sad because here was my encounters with Joss are two or three, two. Um, I was doing a show on Broadway called Company. It was a revival of a Stephen Sondheim show. We did the Broadway revival from 2006 to 7, where we were the orchestra as well as the actors. So we are the orchestra accompanying ourselves doing the thing. And
Okay.
one night Stephen Sondheim is at the show on a sort of an odd night, like in the middle of the week kind of thing. And we're like, Steve, what are you doing here tonight? And he's like, oh, Joss Whedon and his wife are here and they wanted him. And I was like, what? And I grabbed the then 77-year-old man, genius, by the shoulders. I was like, where is he? You have to just here. And he was like, oh, I don't know where we are, but we're going to such and such restaurant after the show. You should come. And my friend in the cast who had gotten me hooked on Buffy and his understudy who also was hooked on Buffy and Angel, I was like, guys, they're going to be at Orzo after the show. You're coming with me. And they were like, but we haven't been invited. What did I say? I was like, ditch your fear. No, something. I said some other better word than that. I was like, get rid of your fear. We are going. And we ended up having dinner with Stephen Sondheim and Joss Whedon and his
wow.
wife Kai, and
Oh,
it
that's
was
cool.
so fun. And we got to the point where we ignored Sondheim. We weren't even talking to him because we were just pelting Joss with stories. He asked us to sign his show poster. Like, he's a huge musical theater fan, as you probably know. And then my second encounter was I got called back for that movie. what's that horror movie that was also funny that he produced, that Drew Goddard wrote? The Woods, the Cabin in the Woods, I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
called.
what is it? The Cabin in the Woods? I'll check it out. Go ahead.
And I auditioned. That was the code. There was a code name, and Amy Acker eventually played the part, but I went in and Joss was there for the callback. So my personal experience with him was that he was nice. And Tim Minear, who was directing me in the Dollhouse episodes, was super nice. It's very sad. I believe Charisma Carpenter. It's just sad.
It is, especially when I read what she had posted. It seems like that she was really bullied on the set. Some of the insults that were hurled, I think, were completely inappropriate. And looking back at the episodes of Angel in season 3, it's kind of starts to make sense with why her performance was the way it was. But yeah, I think the world of Charisma Carpenter. I loved the episode she was in Supernatural.
Oh, she's in an episode. Don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she is, and she does a.
Hey, stop! She said no spoilers.
Her performance in that episode was phenomenal. I love it. Absolutely. I think the actor that played Spike is her husband, if I remember correctly.
Oh my God, really? Because I thought James Marsters was perfect. That's like just perfect.
I liked when he was on Angel. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that his character got to keep going. After that, because I felt
that was actually that. Oh, sorry, Quinn. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I mean, you're the guest.
Well, yeah, but you were talking.
I talk all the time. I don't ever stop.
Well, all I was going to say was that was the joke that I made to Joss Whedon's, but it was actually something I felt compelled to say to him because I had just watched for the first time the last episode of Buffy, and it was one of those moments. It was like the end of Infinity War, when I didn't know what was coming, and I stared at the end of the screen. At the end of Infinity War, I actually got up out of my seat. I just went, no, at the screen. Like, I actually did that in the theater. I was like, and my friend who already knew what was coming, who read all the comics, was just like, and that's what happens at the end of Buffy with Spike. So when he comes back on Angel, I'm just like, okay. But I did tell Joss, I was like, I didn't think I'd ever be able to speak to you after what you did to Spike. I didn't think I'd be able to be I said I didn't think I'd be able to be nice to you if I met you in person. That's what I said to him.
So looking at I looked it up. So it's episode 5 of season 7, and James Marsters is her husband in that episode. So I had to look it back up again, and he played a different type of character than Spike. Spike was always kind of that slimy sleazeball type character, but in this one, he's a lot more professional. It's almost kind of like that they're wealthy, and he kind of plays the aristocrat in the episode. So it's I enjoyed that one a lot.
I don't know if he completed all the years at Juilliard, but he's a Juilliard trained actor. Like, I think that's part of why he was so versatile and able to, I mean, just because you go to one of the fancy schools does not necessarily mean that you're a versatile actor, but I happen to think that that part of his versatility is attributable to that. I don't know if he'd say that, but I can't wait to see. It's going to take me a minute to catch up to that. So at some point, after I've watched some, I will get back in touch with you and then tell you.
Yeah, I think season 8 is where it goes off the rails for me a little bit. But season 1 through, it was written to be a 5-season show originally.
Oh, wow.
And so at the end of the 5th season, it's a nice wrap up of the storyline. But it was so popular with the fans. I mean, it had millions of viewers. So they the CW was, or WB at the time was, or whatever, whoever it was. Let's pick it up again and pick it up again and pick it up again. And we were 15 seasons. So,
sometimes that happens.
the synopsis of the story is basically it's two brothers that are hunting supernatural creatures, vampires, ghouls, demons. So it's one of those shows that if you like supernatural things like Buffy, and Angel, it touches on a lot of those things, but it's a little bit darker than Angel
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
They don't mind killing characters off at all.
Right. Right.
So,
It's not. And that was one of the things that I appreciated about, again, keeping in mind that I believe the actors, I forget the name of the actor who was in the Justice League that felt mistreated by Joss. I don't discount any of what they say they went through. Yeah. But I also know from interviews, like it's weird when you come across, when you hear things about someone who you have been admiring, because I also loved how he handled the Avengers movies, and also I loved the stamp of his writing that he tried to sort of impress on his shows, which was, if you're going to kill a character off, I think I was saying this to you in our emails, if you're going to kill a character off, it's going to mean more if people actually have an attachment to that character, and making sure that you care about people is more important than just fancy plot lines. And I really love that about the shows that he produced and wrote for, because that's what I love about them. It's, you really feel such tremendous love for the characters. I do, anyway.
Yeah, the actor's name was Ray Fisher. I do want to thank Angel Desai for spending our time with us today. We have had a phenomenal time, lots of rabbit holes, but we are very appreciative of your time, and we thank you very much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me on. I've so much enjoyed talking to you. I love conversations like this. This is such a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for asking me to be here.
Yeah, I definitely had a great time. We love it when we get to talk to a guest about subjects that we all love. So few do I see an interview where you really get to see what a person's interests are and see a real conversation. So that's what we aim for here. I think of them almost as more of a sit down talk than an interview, because half the time we get to talking about all kind of stuff, and then it's like, oh wait, yeah, this person has a job. We should talk about the stuff they do on occasion. If people want to know more about you, where can they find that information?
Oh, that's right. AngelDesai.com is my website. I finally got one years and years and decades after everybody else stopped having them. But Angel Desai, AngelDesai.com.
All right.
And I am also on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.